In this podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. And you're joining in right now because we've been having a conversation with me and Pauline. And we're just gonna take the conversation live and just chat it up because this is the second time Pauline been on the show. So we get to talk about just me and her have a conversation. We're gonna call this idea tennis moment right now. Idea tennis where she hit me with the idea, hit her with the idea. We just have a conversation around back and forth around certain things. So Pauline, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's get back into the conversation we've been having already.
Okay. So the conversation that I had said was that I'm in a group on Facebook, and there's a million people in it. It's a consciousness group, and somebody yesterday did a post about walk-ins,
Mm,
and it literally popped up the minute I was on Facebook, and I was like, oh, cool. People generally don't. I mean, that's my life. That's my work. But people generally don't talk about it. So I immediately commented and I was like, yeah, I'm a walk-in, and I did my before and after pictures, and I had some complications, and then very quickly there was like so many
mm,
people commenting and asking questions, and but for some people very fear-based, right?
mm,
Um, and how we interpret the information around us is based on our level of awareness, right? Like our um so if you're having fear-based thoughts, that's the lens that you are viewing all of life with, right?
mm. The filter.
It is. And we can't accept information greater, like at a so if fear is a very low vibration. Have you read Hawkins' Power versus Force book?
Mm. I listened to it. Yes, I have. I think I have. I
Right.
think that book. Yeah.
So, scale of human consciousness, every emotion has a vibration, right?
Hmm.
So, let's say you're vibrating, I've got it here somewhere. Let's say you're vibrating at fear.
Hmm.
You can't acknowledge or accept anything that's higher than fear.
Mm.
So, what do
Interesting.
I want to say here? So, that's good awareness to have, because people think that their life is in different areas. It's not. If you're viewing life through a filter of fear, you're viewing everything through a filter of fear.
Mm. So you can say then our emotion is the eyes that we see the world through.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yes.
So
Raise
then
your
if,
energy, and to raise and change your energy is to change your life.
mm,
And I was working with a client earlier in the week, and he had some things that happened. So they were, kind of gone from their happy dancing in the kitchen, life is amazing, to not feeling that way, you know?
hmm
And I said, well, that's when you dance anyway, right? Because you've got to raise your energy of your body so that your thoughts can match it as well. If you stay down there waiting to feel like dancing,
mm.
that may not happen. But if you actually dance and get your body uh, back in the energy of dancing, then your thoughts will match it. And
It,
most people live life in the reverse.
interesting enough, I was listening to a a a a statement that says not over 90% of the decision that we make them based on how we feel in that moment. And often
Um,
to, and
sorry.
oftentimes we base our decision based on how we feel in that moment. Oftentimes, sometimes that feeling is not correct about what's really happening around us. So we can start making decisions based on how we set the intention to be and follow that script. Like, hey, if I decide I'm gonna do this tomorrow, and I wake up tomorrow, I don't feel like doing it, then guess what? Oftentimes people they decide, okay, I don't feel like doing so I'm not gonna do it. But if I already decided, hey, I'm gonna do this thing tomorrow, and I wake up tomorrow and don't feel like I want to do it, I'm still gonna do it because sometimes the decision, the how we feel sometimes doesn't predictable of exactly what we need to do. If that make any sense to you.
No, it totally makes sense to me. So another way of saying that is that
Mm-hmm.
90 to 95% of who we are and what we do
Mm-hmm.
is driven by the unconscious mind. That's
Mm,
where all our beliefs and our programs are, whether we're aware of that or not.
mm,
The number one prime directive of the unconscious mind is to keep us safe,
mm-hmm.
which sounds wonderful, but its idea of safe is in the familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So your default is always going to be what you've always done.
Mm,
And it takes awareness and volition to say, oh, okay, I get that that's the default. That's the rut. That's if I don't make an effort to do that, that's where I'm going to land again. However, I don't want that. I've been there. I want new experiences. And so many people get misguided by those thoughts, right? So
mm-hmm.
to your example, I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done that before. And you set the intention to do it. And then the unconscious mind does exactly what it's intended to do. And it's like, we haven't done that before. That
Mm-hmm.
would be safe. And I have to keep you safe. So I'm going to tell you not to do that. And how I'm going to do it is how I'm going to signal that is through feelings and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So now it doesn't feel good, or I don't feel good, or I don't have the energy to do it. That's the unconscious mind doing its job. And when you know that, then you can be like, oh, perfect. Thanks, unconscious mind. We're still doing it and we're going to be fine. So you're coming along for the ride, but you get to be in the back seat. You're not driving. And we're going to go do this. And many people don't understand how the unconscious mind works. So when they get the thoughts of, oh, maybe I shouldn't do it, or they believe it, they think it's their guidance. No, it's your familiar.
Mm.
That makes
Yeah, let's go back and forth here because I like this actually. So I was thinking about, before I was processing the thought around sometime you wake up and you have an itch or a feeling to do something like before I say that, I'm saying what I'm saying is that a lot of time we do things and we don't know that what else is actually playing in the background that is
oh,
causing us to do the thing,
that's my
right?
life.
Yeah. So then a lot of times you just get an itch or a feeling to do something. You have no idea why you're doing it, but you just have the feeling to do it. And I always think that there's like what I say, like the master plan
Yeah, the
that is
guidance.
yeah, that is happening, that is manipulating you, but then you get to manipulate as well. Like the universe is manipulating you, but you also get to manipulate the universe in a certain way. Manipulation might be the right word, but what I'm saying is there's there's an activity that's happening that is moving you, but you're also moving things as well.
Yep.
So then you have the itch to the feeling to do something. You have no idea why you feel the way of doing it. You might wake up like, I'm gonna give away some money today. You have no idea. But then you give away the money, and the other person that wants that money, that maybe manifesting or setting the intention to have that money, just wake up and like somebody is giving the money at the same time. You're like, okay, so why do I feel like giving money away? Because somebody else is calling the money from the other side,
Yep.
and you just happen to feel the need to do it. Or you find a need to be generous today or be nice to somebody today. Well, the person is asking for some niceness in their life, and the universe saying, actually, you're gonna be the person that's gonna be nice to this person today, and you just have the feeling to be nice.
Or
Or,
that or that person
mm-hmm,
got themselves into the mindset that there are no nice people in the world.
mm,
And you show to disprove it, right?
yes,
It's not just what we ask for. I'll give you an example of this. There's a store that I go to in town here, and this was a little while ago. I used to buy like a specific nut butter there, and in Mexico, like here, like you can't guarantee what you want is going to be in stock. Like it's just it's a free for all, right? You just kind of
mm-hmm,
show up, and if it's there, you buy it, and if it's not, then you wait till it shows up again if it ever does. So I had been out that day and with a friend, and I kept having images of this store.
mm,
And I was like, why am I having these images? I don't need the nut butter, right? So I was out with a friend all day, this store. So I'm walking home, and they have a little restaurant in the front, right? You walk through the seating area and into the store, which is the cooking area, but it's also retail. So I'm walking home and I'm like, I don't know why, but I'm getting the mat. Okay, I'm going. So I'm like, I'll go there. So I walk through the seating area, walk into the store, and there's plenty of nut butter. So I'm like, I don't need to buy nut butter today. Don't know why, but I always listen to the guidance. In the maybe 30 seconds that I walked in and walked right back out, because I didn't stay, a tourist that was sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And the waitress had put her food down in front of her. She passed out, fell off her chair, and fell into the bushes behind her.
Mm.
So I walked, it literally must have just happened like this. Yeah. So I walk out and I see this, and the waitress is freaking out because this woman's unconscious. And so I was like, oh, well, that's they'll figure that out. I kept walking, and then it was like literally stopped dead in my tracks, and it's like, you got to go back. It's like, I got to go back. So I go back to help the woman. So I help pick her up. We get her on her chair. So now here's where I was called in. Waitress is Spanish, very little English. English tourist, no Spanish.
Mm.
And so now she's disoriented. Waitress is kind of like, what am I, doesn't know what to do. So I sit down, I start talking to her. I said, what's going on? And she said, I'm here from England. And I said, okay, what happened there? And she said, well, she had gotten some stomach stuff. Mm-hmm. Right. And if you're not careful about water here, then if no one's told you don't drink the tap water, that might happen. She had some stomach stuff, had been sick for a couple of days, had not eaten in days, had not been drinking, and decided that what was going to make her feel better was to go out and eat. Mm. So she did. And her body had other plans. So as soon as that food was put in front of her, it said, oh, absolutely not. This is not what we need. Mm. And she passed out. Ooh. And I got flagged, right? I'm getting the flags all day that I need to go there. And I was there at that specific moment. So I said, I'm like, hey, what did you last eat, drink, whatever. So I go to the pharmacy and I get her the electrolytes. And I'm like, drink that whole thing. Like, you're not getting up until you've drank this whole thing. You are so dehydrated. So I'm just like, okay, do this, do that, like 3 more bottles before the end of the day. Like you continue to drink water and electrolytes until you're essentially peeing in real time, right? And so finish that. She goes on her way. Waitress is so thankful because she didn't, there's a language barrier. And I left and I was chuckling. I was like, oh, that's what all those messages were about today, because I was needed there.
Interesting. It makes me think about, like, we're trying to figure out what is the present moment. And oftentimes I looked at them and like, what is the present moment? Can you actually put a finger on the present? And it's kind of hard to put a finger on the present because as soon as you think about something, it moves to the past, right? So I'm trying to figure out how big is the moment of the present playing out on the master plan, that the future of this person, he was written into it, being there at that place at time, and then he was being put toward that future. So it made me think about, is the future some way written in a certain way where we're directed at certain things moving forward? So how did the universe know that you need to be in that place? And then if you were a person like, okay, so well, is the future written? Is it predetermined? It begs that question, right?
I don't believe that the future is predetermined. I believe that there are potentials, right? So I have a theory. Mm-hmm. Once because I've been called, things like that have happened to me many times. Like I dowse, I use a pendulum, and I teach dowsing. Mm-hmm. And when we dowse, the protocol I use, we do clearings for people, and we also do clearings for property. And this started before I left Canada. I drove from Toronto to Vancouver. And we were staying in a hotel. So we would get into the hotel. I was traveling with a friend, and she would do food and drink, and I would do the room clearing.
Mm-hmm.
So here's how I look at it. It's like when you're aware and you're willing, it's like when you go to the supermarket and you can tell who's working by when they have their light on.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that when you have your light on, that you are then aware of when you can help.
Mm-hmm.
Right? My light was on. Other people may have gotten the same message that day, but they didn't know what it meant and they just discarded it. I was trying to make sense of it. I'm like, I don't need nut butter. Why am I getting this? It was strong. And I always listen. But what if many people are getting that message, but other people aren't paying attention to it because they can't make logical sense of it?
Mm.
When I got to Vancouver Island, I was staying with a friend. We were on the east coast of the island, we went to the west coast. And I had just met her. She's one of the meditators. And I said to her, I said, I'm super sensitive to energy. And if we get to this, it was her cabin. I said, if it needs clearing, I'm going to clear it, just so you know. And so we get into the cabin, not 10 minutes goes by, and I'm just like, I'm like, okay, I got to do some clearing, right? That's all I know is I'm reacting to something.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would be like, oh, I'm having a moment, I'm this and that. I'm like, no, I'm reacting to something. This isn't
so there's some allergy in the hair.
It's this.
Some spiritual allergy.
I'm not acting, I'm reacting to something. So I pull out my pendulum, so I go to clear the property. Well, it wasn't the property. So I just like, okay, then what is it? Right? It's like, do I need to do this? Do it? No. Essentially, we were on Indigenous land. Mm-hmm. The land was calling to me. And that was the very first time I did a clearing I'd only ever done on a human being. And it was an energetic constriction. And that I was guided to do that clearing on this land. Right? So now here's me. Was I the only one who could do that? No, I don't think so. Was my light on? Absolutely. Was I brought there to specifically do that? Possible. Given the happenstances that got me there, it was completely unexpected that I was going to be on the island. And that's happened many, many times in different countries, states, locations where I show up somewhere and I start to react, say, okay, what here needs my attention? Use my pendulum and determine it and just follow whatever I'm guided to do. So is it preset? I don't think so, because at any point in time, I could have chosen not to listen.
I'm gonna press on here a little bit. This is my hypothesis a little bit. Okay. I think everything is predetermined. This is why I say this. If like we get to choose different things in life, right? And for me to make a choice, that means that option has to have already exist for me to choose it. For me to choose this
exists.
Okay, you can call it potential, but there are so many different options that I can choose from, right? And those options, they are going in a certain direction. Now, when I show up, I get to choose which direction I want to go. But those directions are already laid out. If not, I would not have the option to choose it. So therefore, am I creating all of these things? Or it's already been created. I just have the choice to choose what direction I want to go. So all I'm going through life is making choices what direction I need to go. But those directions are already been created by the master creator. But I get the option to choose which one I take on today. So then if I make the choice around this going on this avenue, then whatever is on the avenue that's been created, I get to experience. So if there's a person that is needing help on the avenue and I decide that I'm going to choose the avenue, therefore I should start seeing the becoming aware of what's needed on this path. That's just my thoughts on the process of
So
is it
that makes
predetermined or not.
to me, that's different than
Mm-hmm.
life is predetermined. So what
Mm.
you're essentially, because to me, that's, oh, it's already decided. That means I have no choice in it. And I don't agree with that. But
Oh, the
what you're
choice. Okay, the
saying,
choice piece we have, but as far as the creation itself is being created by the master plan.
so yeah, I think so. What you're saying is based on what we came here to accomplish and experience,
Mm-hmm.
there's there's a the possibilities to allow us to
Mm-hmm.
experience that have shown up, and
Mm-hmm.
what we get to choose how to experience
Yes.
it. Okay, not that, like when people say, oh, it's all predetermined, it's like being on a ride, right? That you're in the car and then the ride just takes you where it's going to take you, and I don't agree with that.
Mm.
But upon clarification, yes, right, there's an unlimited amount of possibilities. And in
Mm-hmm.
order for there to be some direction in life based on what we chose when we came here,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to consistently be being led in that direction by the choices available.
Yes. So I think choices, we have choices, but as far as the creation itself, the creation has already been created. That's just me personally. So I feel like if not, then then if I'm not creating the thing, then who's created who created it? For me to make a choice, that means the choice has to exist already. For me to make a choice. For me to choose something, that means that choice has to happen already. If not, then there's no choice.
Well, what if
Mm-hmm.
the choices that you made prior,
Mm-hmm.
because you made choices prior, created that on,
There we go. There we go. Okay. I can go with
right?
that one. Mm-hmm.
Right.
That before I get into the game, I decided what game I'm gonna play. And then I show up and play the game.
Right. Like the one thing I just don't that doesn't sit well with me is if people think that there's, or they talk about God or creator that's outside of them.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't sit well with me, right? We
Mm-hmm.
we are source, we are the
Yes.
creator, we
Mm-hmm.
are God.
Yes.
However, but there's still people who bought into religious indoctrinations who believe that that's outside of them, and
Mm.
that there's some person, deciding what they can and can't do. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't sit well with me. But it does make sense to me that, let's say, when I decided to leave Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, it's like I want to live at my highest expression.
Mm-hmm.
Even that act itself created unlimited potential.
Mm-hmm. Because we gotta eliminate these borders because we're here to experience planet Earth. And planet Earth is pretty big. And Canada is just a spot on planet Earth. Now that you
Mhm.
might have landed on, but you're supposed to move around. You're supposed to go find the energy where the energy is at and go play with the energy where the energy is at. So I think
Well,
we all get to go places where we're most needed, or where we're most
or or
destined to do great work.
or yeah, where we're most nurtured,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like this phase for me is about connecting, honing my connection to myself. It's been about healing my body,
Mm-hmm.
regenerating my body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so my walk-in clearings were May of 2021. My son moved to another side of the country in June. July, I decided to sell my house. My house sold in August. It closed in September. I drove to Vancouver. I left Canada in October, arrived in Mexico. Went to Denver. I arrived. I had no idea where I was going after that. I arrived in Mexico in November. Arrived here in where I live in December. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So all those are creating, and I know that my my peace is near water.
Mm.
Right. Like I live a block from the ocean, and with the work that I do, um, Yeah, if I'm feeling energetically off, or I've taken something on from a client, I just go to the beach. I go in the water, I lie on the ground, boom, I'm
It's washed away.
so
Oh my God.
I don't know if I could be doing what I do not with this support system.
Water. Interesting. Hmm.
And I also believe that we're called to different places based on past experiences,
Hmm.
other incarnation experiences.
You know, I was talking to one of my friends couple months back. We was talking about me and my fascination with like digging up in the history, going back, going back, going back. And she said something to me. She was like, Asher, maybe you are going back to find the work you've started that you haven't finished in the past. So you
Maybe.
can finish it. And I was like, oh, I never thought about that. She was like, yeah, maybe you gotta go, you're trying to find a previous version of yourself that ended some place back in history and for you to go back, pick up and keep going. I was like, oh, let me think about that. That's interesting way I'm looking at it. But
Or
let me
to
think about it.
complete something.
To
Like
complete something, yeah.
um I have two thoughts here. Um First one is I was talking to another meditator and she had gone to Saint Martin,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the first port for slave trading.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, Pauline, when the boat was pulling up, she's like, my reaction was visceral.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what, maybe you went back because you had a lifetime where you were on a boat as a slave. And
Wow.
you were clearing it,
Yeah.
right? You didn't have the awareness and control in that lifetime, but you went back
Mm.
to
Complete something.
complete, clear, transmute the
Mm.
energy, right? To bring it full circle.
Mm.
And what's been showing up for me in my practice more lately is I work with healers, practitioners, people who help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know at the start of any appointment, I don't know where we're going. Right. I know where, sorry, I shouldn't say I know where we're going, right? I want sovereignty in the body, one being in the body, and the body having 100% autonomy to self-regulate and control. I know that that's the result, but I don't know the path that's there, right?
Mm.
Until the person shows up, start talking to the body, start asking, and what are we dealing with? And then there'll be certain energies, and I'll be like, have I dealt with this in this lifetime?
Mm.
No. Have I dealt with it in the past lifetime? No. Future. I've dealt with it in the future lifetime. Okay. I go to all those lifetimes, any lifetime that I've dealt with it. And I say, what did I learn? What's all the wisdom? What's all the knowledge and all the awareness? And can I have that now? And I bring it back into it. And then I follow that guidance to clear.
Mm. Okay, let me let me throw this idea at you and see what you think about it.
Yeah.
So I so how I look at like how human beings are keep um moving into the future. So for example, I think the first person gave birth to themselves, and then they keep like we can like the first person made a copy of themselves, continues making, so we keep making copy of ourselves. I could give birth to myself when I give birth to my kid. My kid give birth to, so it's like the original person copy just keep going forward, right? And then and then we are here. How would I say this? The what's the energy in the body or the history keep pushing forward through the copies that we make of ourselves by having kids. And then if you trace the history of all the way back, you go back to what the first being. But then you from the first being trace the history going all the way back, it's just us moving forward into the future because we're not eternal in the body, so we keep making copy of the body through the birth process, and then we just find a way to transfer the energy through different ways. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking about. What are your thoughts on that?
So in my model of the world, there's three levels. We have the body,
Mm-hmm.
we have the being, and we
Mm-hmm.
have planet.
The planet. Okay.
And they're all energies that interact
Mm.
and create an experience. Um, I believe we inhabit bodies. We're not our bodies.
Me
And so
too. I agree.
there's three distinct things, right? So the it's all from source. And yes, there is accumulative. It's like a soul's timeline, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that you have your soul's timeline that continues regardless of what part of you is manifested in a body here, a body there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and in terms of bodies, I know for me, I do believe that bodies are the same, that they've had previous lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I'm dealing with things in this lifetime with my body that we have not physically experienced in this lifetime. Fears.
Mm. Okay, so then it's like so the body is like a house that you're saying that more than one occupants can occupy the house,
It's
but
not
then it's
meant to be.
supposed, but it's not
Well,
meant to
sorry,
be.
not at one time. Yes, yes.
Mm.
The body can change owners.
Change owners.
Yes, but it's only ever meant to be one. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what walking in is being born in is what most people believe, which is the energy comes into the body at birth, before birth, around birth, right? So a walk-in is just an energy that came in after.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And occupy. So and then the one that was birthed in the body leaves.
Leads. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
well, and there's many, there's many, I'm coming to be aware of many reasons why occupants leave, why they, because one of the questions in that group was, well, why would any soul leave? Like, why would they be so shattered that they would leave? And I thought, oh, that's an interesting lens to look at the world. And you believe that everything is shattered, right?
Mm.
What about choice? Could it not just be that, hey, I incarnated into this body to have this specific experience,
Yes.
and we're on a free will planet? That's what I think my original occupant. I think exactly what happened, which is probably what I know about it. Was they came in to have this specific experience. They were born into a family. Everybody has free will,
Mm-hmm.
and based on the free will and choices of the parents, that took their experience off the table.
Okay, let's play with this a bit because I'm crushed between when we gotta like transition between different identities. Like, for example, I did this many years in the military. Then I'd say, after military, like I just have a feeling I want to do something completely different, right? But then, so what if the first occupant was like, I want to be in this body because I want to experience being in the military or serving, yeah. And then after that experience over, then I have a total desire to do something completely different. What changed? Why my desire completely changed in a certain direction? And how do I know I still have the same soul occupying this other soul doesn't leave? Like how do you know? How does a person know
How do
that
you
there
know
was
you're
a
a walk-in, or how do you
yeah
know to attribute that to walk-in, or is it just that part of your own personal evolution?
yeah I'm trying to figure out how do you know when one occupants left and the other one switched? Like how did the person know there was a switch? I do everybody know there was a switch?
No, no. I mean,
Mm,
that's one really big fallacy that I find in talking to people. They'll be like, "Well, if I was a walk-in, I would know it."
mm,
No, no, not at all. Not at all. That's not my experience, and that's not the experience of many people that I work with. All my clients were walk-ins, right? Like attracts like,
mm-hmm.
resonates. I went looking to see if I was a walk-in, using all my gifts and skills and tools, and in asking other people as well. We were all dousing, no, no. So would you know? No. And in terms of walk-in, let's make two distinctions here.
Mm-hmm.
One is you're walking and you've had changes and you haven't had any issues, right? You're flowing beautifully. I'm gonna leave the military. I'm gonna, go somewhere else. I want to try something different. I want to have different experiences. Beautiful. Really? Other than curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
is there any reason to know?
No, it's yeah, because everything around us tells us that what's normally happen when different people do different things. So I
That's why
wouldn't
I'm
necessarily know. Mm,
right. That's why I'm making the distinction. That's one experience. The other experience was like me,
mm,
where life is not freaking working. I am chronically ill.
mm,
I am depressed. I have mental health issues. I have emotional issues. I have physical body issues. Life is not working.
mm.
Those are the symptoms of walk-in complications.
Ah, there we go. So, so it could be happening where there's no complication at all,
Exactly.
and it's
Yeah.
smooth, and then, but when there's a complication, some of us recognize there's like for you, you just like something's not right, and then you just start seeing the signs and recognizing how to like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It, I mean, then you're getting, so you've got complications. So you've got more than one occupant in the body. So now you're a
Mhm.
bit of an energetic soup.
Mm,
When you have more than one occupant, you've got interference in the body. So that's messing up the signal. Like
mm-hmm,
you've got multiple input. Um, but every symptom from your body, every sensation, every thought is signal, right? There was times in my journey I thought I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, this isn't normal. I thought I was bipolar,
mm,
schizophrenic, right?
mm-hmm,
But then when you have an awareness of Western medicine, you don't say anything, because if you roll it and say that, you're on medication. Boom. Now you are a
on the fifth floor.
now you are a superhighway for interference into the body. You have said, come on in, I'm taking these pharmaceuticals. I've opened the door.
Mm,
So those are really big symptoms: emotional, unresolved or continuing emotional issues, mental health issues, schizophrenia, bipolar,
mm,
um, highly stigmatized. But what, and physical, right? The body starts to break down. The body
mm.
is manifesting the energy of all of those beings.
Aha. And that's not
And it's
conducive
never
because
meant for it. It just
mm,
it breaks down, it wears down. The body. So let's say the body is being challenged. It's in a non-supportive environment. The body manifests and develops illness based on your thoughts and beliefs,
mm,
right? So
I
now you put several people in the same environment that is non-conducive to them, they're going to develop illness in different ways based on their own thought patterns and beliefs.
mm. Okay.
So
So it's
it's mental illness, physical illness, emotional. So that's the signs that there's a glitch in your walking.
mm,
But instead of having the awareness of that, now you're getting sucked into Western medical environments of, oh, depression is genetic. It's not. It's an energy.
mm. This is hmm. Here's a pops in my head a bit right now.
Okay.
I was thinking about the you're saying walk-ins are always happening, and some of us are when they happen when there's no complication, stuff that's happening because it's just the natural way of transitioning with energy, so forth and so on. And
It's like
then
new
when
chapters in a book, same book,
yeah,
different chapter.
different chapters, right? And then you got different characters that shows up in different chapters that get to have an experience in the book.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then when there's a complication, when there's too many characters in the same chapter and it's just not working properly, you start noticing the the energy fracture, what we call it, fracturization, so forth and so on. The the energy is not playing right, and you can tell like because the body cannot contain it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Hmm. So it makes so then you come back to the question where like why people are so exhausted, because if you're not being yourself, that creates a lot of exhaustion. Like when people are very exhausted because you're not being yourself. When you're being yourself, it flows easy. So oftentimes we're having this challenge in life because we are being something other than us in that moment. It makes life very exhausting. But then when we are being like I'm being me that I'm supposed to be, then life is a lot more easier. So
Can
then,
I use a different word other than exhausted?
okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Peace. At
Mm-hmm.
peace.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause you can be tired of peace.
Hmm.
But when
So,
there's no peace, when
yes.
there's no peace, that's when there's an issue. You could be tired. I'm tired today. I've been doing all, so I'm a little bit tired, but I'm at peace. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not the tiredness of the body, but if you have walking complications, you don't have peace.
Mm-hmm.
There's not that bone deep, here I am in the present moment,
Mm-hmm.
that in this moment everything is perfect and fine, but your higher self is telling you that's the way that's what that's the way it's meant to be.
So
And if
conflicting
you give,
energy,
yeah,
conflicting energy, the body doesn't contain well, and therefore it breaks down physically, and then the person have a mental breakdown,
no,
and
they
then the
don't have a
person
mental breakdown, but the body could manifest the
Mhm.
symptoms as mental illness,
Mental illness.
emotional
Okay.
illness, physical
Hmm.
illness. It's all coming from the body.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Okay. No, this is interesting, by the way. I'm thinking about the the idea that they are constantly walking in and walking out,
Well,
and then
I wouldn't say constantly around the planet, yes, but not in one person.
not in one person.
Yeah.
Hmm. I'm still trapped into the idea of how do hmm, how do people know and why do people do not know?
Well, it's, do you need to know if you're if your transitions happen beautifully and you're at peace and you're enjoying your life,
Mm-hmm.
more power to you. It might just be a curiosity of, oh, am I? Yeah, I've had lots of chapters in my book.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. But you're at peace,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then it's a curiosity. But if you're on the other side of the coin, like I was,
Mm-hmm.
and you've been sick your whole life, all new, different, crazy things that nobody has an explanation for. You're you you're depressed, you're suicidal, you feel bipolar, you feel like, why am I this person one day, why am I this person the next day? There's no
Mm-hmm.
consistency.
There we go.
And emotionally you are unregulated.
Mm.
Then you want to start looking and saying, what's the cause of this? Right? We're not meant to be like that. I knew I wasn't meant to be like that, but it took commitment it to figure it out. Right? I was like, I've got to stop this. Right? I've got to figure out why I'm so miserable,
Mm-hmm.
why I have no peace, why I'm unhappy, why I'm unwell. And for me, that journey started with stopping drinking alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
starting yoga, getting into energy work, dowsing, doing my NLP training, meditating. And it was on day 500 of a walking meditation that I found out I was.
Okay, so I'm gonna say Pauline. So now, Pauline, you sound like a peacemaker for the soul conflict or the walking conflict. Mm. So how do you help people make peace then? I know you just laid a couple things down just know that worked for you, but when you meet
So
somebody that need that peace, that doesn't have that peace in their
the
soul, in
first,
their body.
so okay, so now I want to add one more layer.
Okay.
So you've got all this going on. And then now you're in a body. The unconscious mind cannot understand walking.
Mm-hmm.
All it knows is the familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to try and keep you where you are. And reject any new information. So how do I help people? One is simply awareness. For many people, they've never heard of the term walk.
I never heard of it until I talked to you.
Right. And their system rejects it. It's like, oh no, that's not me. Well, okay, may not be you, but if you have physical issues, mental and emotional issues, that it may be you. If you're listening to this podcast, it may be you.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first step is awareness that walk-ins exist.
Mm-hmm.
What I do in my life is I drop breadcrumbs for people. I have a lot of conversations like this that people are going to hear. Because one of the most pivotal things I ever did in my life was the decision and the choice to live by guidance.
Mm-hmm.
I determined that by dosing. So if it was beneficial for me, I did it. Didn't matter what, scared the crap out of me, I did it. If it wasn't beneficial for me, I stopped doing it. You want to watch your life change? Do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's breadcrumbs. It's walk-ins exist. You could be a walk-in. How do we know we're a walk-in? Well, if you're experiencing physical, mental, and emotional situations and issues that don't make sense to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Every walk-in child has a walk-in parent. I was on a call with somebody today, and they said, it's more likely that my son's a walk-in than I am. Well, if every walk-in child has a walk-in parent, then every walk-in child has a walk-in parent meant to guide them. Well, what if the parent's not aware? How can you guide your child when you haven't woken up to it?
Experience. Oh, so you know what? That's interesting because I do believe in that sometimes if we have a certain kind of purpose, somebody close by us have similar purpose, supposed to show us the example of what it is. So when you were saying that the parent and the kid oftentimes like connected in a certain way where it's like, okay, the parent is a walking and the kid is a walking, but the parent doesn't know. But no, the kid is aware. And who's the guide now?
Exactly. Right. Okay. So, and this is, let's make a really funny example of it.
Mm.
Let's go play on Earth for a while. They have these things called bodies. So we're going to go into bodies.
Mm.
And you age, right? You grow little, you need to be taken care of, you develop until you become an adult. And then adults take care of babies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go down to Earth together. You be the adult and take care of me and show me all my gifts and take care of me and let's do it that way.
Mm.
Now you get down to Earth and the adult is like, la di da di da di da di da di da.
Don't remember.
And the kid is like, what the hell? Or maybe it's the other way around. And it's you as the child are going to wake up and let me. So there's, as humans, we try and there's so, especially when you get into conversations like this and concepts like this, there's so much, and we try and simplify it. And sometimes it gets oversimplified.
Mm-hmm.
Or in our attempt to simplify it, we use lenses of fear, separation, right? It's energy. So very simply, if you're having any kind of reaction to this podcast, this topic, what does that mean? That's a message. And you may be like, oh, that's me. Or you could be like, who is this woman? She's insane. That's bullshit. That's a reaction. That's resonance. It doesn't mean it's not true. It just means you don't want it to be for whatever reason.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, Pauline. Well, I think you've found your perch, and I think you've been sitting on it and doing great work, observing those that are not observing their own journey, their own life, not aware of
I've
what's
walked
happening.
this path. I know how challenging it is. And
Mm,
I think that's the authenticity of it, is that I've done it. Right.
mm-hmm.
I'm speaking from experience. I didn't read this in a book. I did choose this path, but I didn't knowingly, right? Like, it has not been an easy path. And um, if you incarnated via walking, it's for a purpose.
Mm,
If you are not in awareness, you cannot be in purpose.
mm,
How many people, now let's ask that question. How many people do you know, or how many programs and how much of on people on the planet are trying to find their purpose?
mm.
When you're connected to your essence, you know what your purpose is. What's the disconnect? And why are so many people disconnected?
Well said. The purpose has been a elusive thing for a lot of people because they're not aware.
Why? If you're
Mm,
right, right. So maybe if you're, because there's a bigger issue here. It's not your purpose, it's your connection,
mm.
your awareness.
Well, I think a lot of people these days are waking up to a different way of other people's experiences. Because I know certain point in life, then some of these conversations could not be had because it was just like too out there, and only a few people that was just like, I'm doing it, I don't give a
Well, yeah,
damn
you
what
were
nobody think about me. But it's
yeah,
just
you
me.
were you were judged and considered fringe or whatever. But
Hmm.
let's the intention for me is to just drop breadcrumbs.
Hmm.
And I trust in the connection, right? I trust. So I told you I would only act in my best interest, and if it wasn't in my highest good, I wouldn't do it. The other pivotal decision that I made was, nothing in your world is random. Nothing.
Hmm.
Of all of the billions of bits of information that are around, you notice certain things for a reason. So if something shows up in your world, interesting.
Hmm.
If something shows up again, of all the billions of things I could be noticing, I now notice that twice.
Hmm. Means something.
It means something. So, and then now I've noticed it a third time. You need to ask yourself what action you need to take. And it was Oprah that would say, like the messages show up as whispers, and the universe uses people, places, and things. Right? We
Hmm.
talked about that earlier with the being in the restaurant, and
Hmm.
if your lights on. So it starts out as whispers. You meet somebody, and you're like, oh, there's something about that person, right? And then they've said something, and now someone else says, right? So now you're getting whispers. If you are not paying attention, then the whispers get louder. Then they
Hmm.
start taps, and then it gets louder, and then you're like me,
Hmm.
and you're in a freaking head-on collision. The universe has stopped you in your tracks. Those things are not random. People mistake them as karma. No, what is the message? What? And I was in the head-on collision and went back into the life that I was living. And so my body developed fibromyalgia. And it and I was going down that path. And I was like, I was in so much pain, so much pain. I couldn't get my head off the pillow. And I had narrowed, my whole world had narrowed down to getting the diagnosis and getting this medication that they told me could help me.
Mm.
Right? That was the only thing I could think that I could survive. I get that happens, I get the medication, I take one dose, and my body was like, oh no, sister, that's not what this is about. I was in the hospital. I got so sick from that medication. My body is like, that's not what this message is, and you are not doing that. My whole world shattered. I was on the floor, sobbing, going like, I don't know what to do next. Perfect. You're exactly where we need you.
Mm. I like when you said, the universe, it whispers at you. It might tap you. It might shake you. But then if you're not listening, it's gonna give you an ass whooping. And it's
Oh,
gonna wake you up.
and many. Well, and that's the thing. And as a
Hmm.
walk-in who was unaware for 5 decades,
Hmm.
I've had many ass whoopings,
Mm.
tra- traumatic ass whoopings, but I didn't get the awareness from them.
Mm. Know you awaken.
Now I see things way differently. My body is regenerating and healing on supernatural levels, which is the way it's meant to be.
Mm.
And all the resources that I need just keep showing up. The next level of me, and at the same time, the cast of characters that shows up for any chapter
Hmm.
leaves. So a new cast of characters. So if
Mm.
something's trying to leave your life, let it. If
Yeah.
something's trying to enter your life, use your discernment,
Hmm.
but let it.
Mm. It's supposed to flow like a river. We don't know obstruction.
Pardon me?
It's supposed to flow like a river without no obstruction.
Yeah, but you're also, like there's a lot of false light out there of, oh, we're meant to live in joy all the time. No, you're in a
Mm.
human body. You're meant to experience the range of human emotion.
Hmm. And they're beautiful. Oh my God, what would we do without the juicy stuff?
A lot of people don't want that. They want to stay in meditation for hours and
Mm.
commune with higher energies. That's not what you're here for.
Mm.
You just you want your baseline
Hmm.
to be a good baseline of love, compassion, giving, but you have a whole range.
Hmm. It's been interesting, Pauline, as always. You have a different way of looking at the world. And sometimes, it happens that you were saying that right now, somebody listen to this. Because once you see it, once your brain see it, you can't unsee it again. And if you keep seeing it, there's a reason for it, why you keep seeing it. You start
Yes.
asking questions now, figure out what it is that your brain keeps showing you. Like, hey, take a look. I showed you yesterday. I'm showing you again because you need to see it.
Well, and here's the thing. I briefly touched on interference energies and thought patterns and things like that. But if you are in rejection of something,
Mm.
closely examine the beliefs around that. If you can't live without something, closely examine the beliefs around that.
Mm.
Right? Every single moment should be a moment of choice. Oh, maybe I'll try this. Maybe I'll try this. Not like, oh, I can't try that, or oh, I can't
Mm.
live without that. So if
Mm.
you're in polarity, I can't have it or I have to have it, you're not in free will and in flow.
Mm. All right, Pauline. So somebody hear you right now. I'm like, Pauline, I need your 911 number right now. How can I reach you? Like, how can I connect with you?
They can connect with me on my website, PaulineMcGuire.com, PaulineMcGuire. And first step is to take the quiz. Take
Mm.
the energetic free will quiz. That will give you the opportunity to book a 20-minute call with me and we can discuss your results. And I will dose and get you the answers to your questions so that you can determine what your next. I can give you options in terms of what your next steps.
Mm.
If you're listening to this podcast, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah, not a coincidence. And it could be scary for people that are not in the right environment, don't have the right kind of people around them. And
Oh yes.
the people that are around them that been telling them, oh, this and that, blah blah. It's probably scary for some people that are like, I'm recognizing this myself, but I don't know who to talk to.
Yeah.
Because if I said it to my neighbor or my family in the household, it might just alienate me. And then yeah, so it's good to talk to the right people that won't make you think that you're crazy.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've had many conversations with people and, we start to talk. And that's why I so freely share my story,
Hmm.
right? Because yeah, it can be intimidating to say, hey, I have the symptoms of mental illness. I have the symptoms of emotional illness. I mean, physical illness is a little bit harder to hide, but there's shame involved in all of them, and it's
Hmm.
not yours.
Mm. All right,
No,
folks, you heard it here from Pauline, the lady that specializes in walk-ins now, and I must say you're a peacemaker now in the soul. So keep making peace, my friend, and
I want everyone to
yeah,
feel the peace that I do. Right?
yeah,
It took some doing, but this is what I came here for, and
you're
I
doing
know
it.
I came here with a purpose. And people have there's so there's so many gifted people that came here, but they're just not in awareness right now, or they're not in awareness of what else is.
Mhm.
They
And
might
that
be
could
doing
be,
okay,
yeah. Well, that could be frustrating, very frustrating for people.
right? Right. When you're meant for bigger and better and greater and a greater contribution.
That is it. Contribution.
Yeah, a greater impact. They may
Mm.
still be measuring themselves on money, right? No, it's about compact impact and contribution, and the rest flows from it.
I mean that the last word. You tune into Entrepreneurs Awareness Podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. And I said, reach out to Pauline. She has enlightened me a lot every time we talk, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't thought about these things. But now I'm get to my brain can no longer stop seeing it because once I see it and I hear it, I can no longer stop hearing it. And
That's
so no,
impact, my friend.
yeah. So with that.